Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. My name is, of course, the Battle Room, and today I am joined by the results from not one, but two tournaments that took place this last weekend. We have the results from Turin, and we also have the results from Japanese Nationals. Now, Japanese Nationals, they're known, they're insane chefs. They're cooking, the kitchen is flaming hot, they're absolutely insane. And Europe is known for running the meta. But this time around, I actually think Europe really cooked. So Europe's got some spicy teams, Japan's got some spicy teams. So let's break them down and let's talk about them. Now, if you want to skip past these Europe teams, I will have a timestamp link down below. But also, if you could subscribe, help me out a ton. I'd really appreciate it. So let's hop into the first one here from Nicholas here with probably one of the most boring teams in the format and a team we're going to talk about a ton today. I think this is like the six. This is the big six. This is the chalk. This is the most boring team in the format because it's so effective. So first things first, we've got Charizard. Charizard is easily one of the best megas in the entire game. He's the best mega in the entire game. He's very strong. He does tons of damage. You guys know the drill by now. If you've played Pokemon Champions, you've played against Charizard. But what makes Charizard so good with Floette is that they just cover each other so well. Floette hates things like King Gambit. It hates steel types, Aegislash, King Gambit. It hates poison types like Sneasler. And Charizard, he loves seeing those guys. He loves smacking them with a weather ball. He one-shots a lot of the threats to Floette, and then vice versa. Charizard hates seeing stuff like Garchomp, Aerodactyl, Tyranitar, who Floette loves to see and loves to hit them with a Light of Ruin or a Moonblast, right? So paired together, they are an incredibly toxic duo. We saw them win the first American regional, and we're seeing them do very well here in Europe as well. This team is obviously very different from that, but it's the same kind of premise, right? Like, even if it's not Calm Mind Floette, you still have to respect how much damage Floette can do. So you pair that with Whimsicott, who just gives you the best speed control in the entire format. You have easy peasy Tailwind, but what's really cool about Whimsicott as well is it's actually able to abuse the Fairy Aura from Mega Floette, and you just do really big damage with Moonblast. Like, you really need to respect this thing. Whimsicott Floette is such a good lead, but then it also works really well with Charizard as well. Garchomp is obviously one of the best Pokemon in the game. Here we actually do see no Protect on Charizard, but instead of opting for the coverage gauntlet here, and then Roselli Berry seems to be kind of the decided upon best Garchomp item at the moment right now. It's very good into those fairies. You can live Moonblast from Floette. It's very valuable on Garchomp, and it just kind of allows him to cheat a little bit. We also see Jolly Garchomp, which is also very popular right now. And then you round this team out with King Gambit. All those Pokemon are really great and dandy, but Basculegion still can be very annoying. So having something like King Gambit is always really nice. And then, of course, if we've got King Gambit, we might as well slap on the best Pokemon in the game, Basculegion, here in this last slot as well, with that Mystic Water, which allows you to get some really big KOs and just do a ton of damage in Tailwind. So this is like one of the best teams in the game. I'm glad we're covering it first because it is just so potent right now. And I just don't even know if you can have like a really great answer. I think you just have to kind of outplay the other person on the other side of the switch there and just play better than them, because these six Pokemon are disgusting together and they just create such a deadly team. So then next up we have Julio Tarlo. Julio's always so good, always in top cut here, and no surprise here once again, but with kind of a crazy team. I mean, not too crazy, but kind of crazy. I don't see Floette Aerodactyl much anymore as a combo, but obviously they are still very potent. Floette's biggest problem, one of the biggest problems for Floette that's really annoying, is enemy Charizards. I mean, it's not even that big of a problem, but he is annoying. So having stuff like Aerodactyl can be really valuable. And also Aerodactyl is really sick with Floette, of course, because it's double mega. So it allows you to just go absolutely crazy. And you can just start setting up with Floette. You have a fast Tailwind user now. They just have a lot of really great synergy. Otherwise, this team is very boring. We have double Fake Out users. We have a Follow Me user. The coaching Sneasler is very cool. I use that myself, and I really like coaching. I think it's very strong in this format, especially with the King Gambit. It kind of gives you another mode. It also, you could coach the Aerodactyl as well to maybe make it hit even harder or surprise people. I have to assume that the Aerodactyl does outspeed Sneasler. Like, there's no way it doesn't. So unfortunately, you can't coach on the same turn, but you could negate some damage with coaching. I really like the Akaberry Sinestro as well. It allows you to take a Heat Wave from Charizard or Weather Ball. Really valuable stuff, especially because like Sinestro is kind of important sometimes, I feel like, into the Charizard matchup just to be able to give your Floette some healing. So being able to switch in on a Heat Wave is incredibly valuable stuff, because then you get 2 hospitalities. Incineroar is back on top. He's back to being goated. So obviously he pairs really, really well. I think the core of Incin, Cinny, Floette is just really, really good right now. It's very strong, very hard to deal with. And against, against some teams, you just get to take over completely. But still a very cool team, and also just a Choppleberry Kingambit with insane coverage, which can be coached by that Sneasler. Kind of cool team though. Next up, we have Torviv, one of the best players in Europe. I'm not going to say he's the best, but he is absolutely nasty with a setup team. I feel like Torviv is very well known for just nasty Paw Shadow Rider, right? Like, he is just disgusting at playing some of the best teams in the format. And, he's kind of running something a little bit different, right? With Mega Delphox plus Floette. We didn't see a ton of Mega Delphox in North America, but in Europe, honestly, this thing kind of showed up. Like, we got a couple here. We got a couple in the upper tables, but Mega Delphox is really, really good, and I think it's very well paired with Floette. It kind of functions the same way Charizard does in a way, right? Like, what does Floette hate? Sneasler. Delphox, right? What does Floette hate? It doesn't really love Charizard. So being able to have, like, it just is the same Pokemon, right? Like, you have Calm Mind Floette, Nasty Plot Delphox. One hits a little harder, one's a little faster, but they're functioning the same role on your team, and you just get to switch them out and just kind of set up a little bit differently to try and sweep your opponent. Quick Guard is nasty on Sneasler. What the hell? That's crazy. That's some cool tech. We have Sneasler, Incin, Sinestro, Floette, just like we saw on the last team. But again, it's that same godlike combo. Floette is just the queen you're trying to protect. Interestingly here, I don't think Julio was, but let's see. Yeah, he's modest Floette, but Torviv over here is going to be timid Floette, which is kind of crazy. Again, natures are revealed, which is kind of neat. But timid Floette is pretty disgusting. Like, it's pretty nuts. It helps a lot in the mirror, which is kind of what I think he was going for here. Obviously, he does have Delphox as well. Also, I didn't even notice this, but this is also Swords Dance Kingambit. So we have double Fake Out, Redirection, Healing for 3 setup Pokemon. So this team is all about just setting up, getting your Pokemon going, and just trying to win. We see Cassiberry on Sinestro, which I think is pretty strong. Black Glasses Kingambit again. Kingambit or Basculegion can be very annoying for these types of teams, especially with like proper speed control. So I think Kingambit is very, very important with those Black Glasses, just to get that sneaky KO onto stuff like Bulky Citrus Basculegion, or even again like a Scarf Basculegion could go absolutely nuts. It outspeeds everything on this team. So I think having that Kingambit is incredibly valuable. But again, pretty boring stuff from Torviv, but that's what he's really good at playing. He's going to sit down versus you, and you're going to know exactly what his team does, but he's still going to beat you. And he did really, really well at this tournament, which is not surprising. Hello, old friend. We see the same team that we saw earlier, but without the coverage, I believe, and Choppleberry. I mean, there's the thing about this team that's so annoying. Yeah, so this one's Black Glasses, Iron Head, but this one's going to be Protect, no Iron Head, instead has Low Kick, Chopple. The thing about these 6 Pokemon is that they are absolutely so disgusting together. They're just so strong. They give you endless options. There's a ton of customization you can have on this team as well. You could run Scarf Basculegion. You could run it's mostly with Basculegion Kingambit. You could run a different item and moveset on Garchomp as well, but like just small little things that can just elevate your team and your gameplay, right? So this guy, he said, hey, I don't really want to deal with Floettes. I don't care about enemy Floettes. I'll deal with them with my strong spread moves and you know, like hard-hitting moves like Light of Ruin or Weather Ball. I want that low kick instead, opting to win the mirror against enemy Kingambits, and then Choppleberry to try and actually live close combat from Sneasler, which can be very, very valuable as well. Playing against this team is just so frustrating because those small little things can completely shift how you face them in a matchup. Again, we have Calm Mind, Floette, once again with Incineroar and Cinny. This was like the original version. Nah, I wouldn't say original version because I think this stuff's been around since day one. But this was the team that I saw getting a lot of attraction in the current meta, just mostly as a way to, you know, just deal a ton of damage, set up reliably, It's very, very frustrating to have to deal with both Charizard and Floette. And the Charizard mode does go incredibly hard, pairing that with Aegislash, Garchomp, and usually Incin or Cini. We saw a lot of success from Arsol when he won the tournament with it. Obviously, he had Venusaur over Aegislash, but the team functioned very, very similarly. If anything, the Venusaur just makes the Sun mode much stronger, but this is just like a very solid, good team that we've seen around for a bit. Again, Garchomp pairs really, really well with Charizard. You have this really strong Sun mode. Floette has the Fake Out brother, or the Fake Out guy, and Cini, just the support duo that you can just rely on. And then Aegislash just kind of rounds everything out, gives you a really good matchup into enemy Floettes. But also, this one actually doesn't have Wide Guard, but still having access to both Shadow Sneak and then Poltergeist, you have really strong Ghost Stabs. It's just a very, very solid and good team. I think a little bit dated from Joey, but still very strong. Francesco's team is kind of a little bit different. We have Charizard and Mega Aerodactyl. This is like, I don't even want to say it's dated, because I feel like the thing about Charizard teams is they all do something really, really well. Just they all do something really different, right? Like, they're very similar. Like, this is literally just the same team, but we split apart Whimsicott, and we just made Whimsicott both Aerodactyl and Sylveon, right? And then we got rid of we got rid of Floette, right? So we have a non-mega, we have another non-mega here, and we have a different mega, but like, it does function a lot differently, but it is still a Charizard team at its core, right? Like Garchomp, Charizard, Basculegion, Kingambit is a very, very good core, but instead of Whimsicott, we have a supportive Aerodactyl with Wide Guard and Tailwind, so we instead get a better matchup into stuff like Garchomp and into other Rock Slide users. But then we don't have that priority Tailwind, and that's the price we pay. And then Sylveon is a little bit different. Obviously very different than Floette because it doesn't use a Mega Slot, so it makes it a better fairy type to bring paired next to your Charizard. But the Charizard teams just have so much depth. There's so much you can do with them, right? Like, because some of the teams don't even run both of these guys. The one thing they do run is almost always run Garchomp, and they always have a fairy type. They usually rely on Tailwind a lot more recently, but even still, the last team we just looked at didn't even have Tailwind. Joey's team didn't have Tailwind. So it's just, they're all so different, because like approaching the Calm Mind Floette Charizard team is so different than approaching this one. The strength of this one, I would say, is just like your guys are just so bulky. Like, you just have so much sustain. You have really good util as well with that Wide Guard. I think the Tailwind can get a little bit tricky, but if you know the matchup into enemy Tailwind, I think Mega Aerodactyl can really, really shine in the mirror, which I think is something really, really cool. Because originally I would say that people started using Whimsicott to counter Aerodactyl, and so the Mega Aerodactyl players had to instead adjust their play and their game plans, I would argue. Because I would say that this team's dated, but not really. It still did really, really well. It's just a little bit different than the other Whimsicott versions. Next up is a Lycanroc team. This team is absolutely insane. So this is the Frostlass team from this tournament. So we've got Frostlass and Scovillain as our double mega of choice, and then we have Lycanroc Dusk form. This team is so sick. So the idea here is Frostlass, Sneasler, Kingambit. These guys are godlike. This core is absurd. I used it myself. I think it's very, very good. I think there's some flexibility as well with these movesets. I ran Sash Coaching, I ran Choppleberry, but just the Frostlass paired with these two just gives you so much, like, they just cover each other so well. But their biggest issue, hands down, is Mr. Charizard. I think they can play into Charizard. It's not unwinnable by any means with those three Pokemon, but all three of them really hate taking a Heat Wave. So what this Italian building group did, there's a couple of them here in cut. We have three of the Dusk form Lycanrocs here. What Lycanroc does is actually able to one-shot Charizard no matter the speed control. Excel Rock is able to one-shot it with Tough Claws. Sash makes it very, very consistent. And it's just a Charizard hunter, right? Like, oh, you've got Tailwind? That's fine. I'll kill you, right? I'll hit you with that Excel Rock. You have to eat it. Also, Rock Slide is just a very, very good move in the format. Close Combat is sick because it gives you a more potent matchup into Kingambit. Lycanroc just kind of works. It kind of works with what Frostlass is trying to accomplish, which is beating Charizard. So I think Lycanroc is very, very neat. You have those four Pokemon paired together. Makes a really good combo. We have Fake Out plus Swords Dance Kingambit, which is something you always have to respect. It can be very, very annoying. Aurora Veil to also help you with your Swords Dances. And then Sneasler Frostlass is just a disgusting core that's really good at combo, I should say. It's really good at just setting up your Aurora Veil They rounded out with Scovillain, which is a second Mega here, which I think can be pretty valuable. Having that grass typing is really potent. Scovillain is just a pretty strong Pokemon in the format, especially when you pair it with Lycanroc. Scovillain's biggest issue is also Charizard. So if you have this Band-Aid that is Lycanroc, he can kind of carry you through the Charizard woes that allow this team to just really become a huge threat. We saw 3 of them in cut. Yeah, I think there's only 3. We have 3 in cut. We also have 1 that just barely missed. And we got another one right here, right? Who also missed by 1. We have 1 here who also missed by 1. Like, this team did wonders. It did so well. I think that's probably all of them. I know there was just a ton of Italian players playing this team, which is really sick that they were able to keep it a secret, whip it out at the event, and just pop off with this cool team. So yeah, I think this team's sick. Basculegion is also just really good. With Citrus Berry in the Aurora Vale, we saw Alex Underhill do very well with it as well. Yeah, I think this team is just awesome. I think that Lycanroc actually is a really cool and smart pick to fix the problems that this team was probably having. Next up, we have Nico Davide with a Perish Song team. I feel like this dude's been spamming Perish for a long time in this format specifically, and I think that this has kind of been his jam, right? Like, it is a hardcore Perish Song team. We have Gengar plus Protect Incineroar, which is always just very potent and hard to deal with. You pair those 2 together, you press Fake Out Perish Song, and you're chilling. Life's good. But then you also have Tinkaton, who's able to Encore you into unoptimal moves in the Shadow Tag. You also have Disable Encore. Sometimes you don't even have to press Perish Song, and instead you just set up Encore Disable pins. And then the Pokemon are just literally struggling across from you while you're just chilling, sipping your coffee, right? We also have Como as kind of a second mode option here, so that you're able to lead either our Fake Out users paired with Como, which allow you to set up that Klingorious Soul, because a lot of the Pokemon that do really well into Gengar suck into Como, so I think pairing them together is really smart. Incin's boring, he just helps set everything up. Sinestia heals everything, keeps that Gengar healthy or that Como healthy. Politoed is your second Perish Song user, and also your second Encore Disable partner. This team has so much depth, and it is so difficult to play, so it's just kind of nuts. Next up, we have Lewis Markle with a Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Floette team. This one is a little bit more aggressive. It's a solo Mega team. We only have Floette here, but what you're able to do, again, is just Fake Out, set them up. You have Sinestia to heal, you have that second Fake Out in Sneasler, you have that second set of Pokemon in King Gambit, but instead of having like a Tailwind user or another Mega, they have Basculegion with a Choice Scarf, just kind of there to clean up, and just like you whittle everything down with Gleam or Draining Kiss, you start Sucker Punching things, but then Basculegion is just this consistent cleanup Pokemon, and that's just kind of what he's known for, especially with the Choice Scarf. So no surprise there from Lewis Markle. We're firmly into top 8 here. Next up, we have Giuseppe Musico running a very similar team to the Whimsicott stuff we were seeing, but instead of Floette, instead of opting for Incineroar obviously can do a ton of damage in the sun, but Incineroar is just a good Pokemon. He does a lot of damage, he trades well. Intimidate is a great ability to pair with Charizard. Also Scarf Basculegion as well, which I think Scarf Basculegion has its problems. It's not perfect by any means, but if you're able to remove the enemy King Gambit, which usually is pretty easy with stuff like Incineroar, Charizard, King Gambit with low kick, then Basculegion can go nuts. It's just more about removing the King Gambit, and then especially in a Sun Mirror, like if we look at, for example, let's just take a peek at the first team we looked at. This team just doesn't have any Pokemon that outspeed Scarf Basculegion, so they will rely really heavily on King Gambit or having an optimal Tailwind. So what this team is able to do is kind of abuse that and just trade really hardcore with this Basculegion in the Tailwind. Can be very potent. I'm a big fan of the Scarf Basculegion. It's just kind of tricky to use, and I think a lot of players know how to play around it, because you do need to set up the right circumstance for it, and sometimes if they just play protective of their King Gambit or they play a really good late game Tailwind, there's not much you can do. But yeah, it's still a very cool team from Giuseppe Musico. And then we have Matteo here and also Lorenzo, who both ran, I think, almost identical. Yep, it's going to be identical. Again, this team is just so sick. I'm not really going to break it down again. Well, I might, but I don't know. I think this team was definitely such a cool meta call. And it's so cool to see like players come together, build a team, and they all were so confident in it. They ironed out those game plans, and they had amazing success. Like, I think this is the story of the regional, that the Lycanroc guys just popped off with it. Well, it's not the story of the regional. They didn't win. I was rooting for them, though. They were the undefeateds going into it, but unfortunately, they fell a little bit short. So I think this is definitely going to be a team that people need to prepare for going into NAIC, because I think it looks really, really disgusting. It's just kind of like, well, Lycanroc was just such a cool and unique choice going into this tournament because Charizard is the biggest threat, right? Like, he is very important to deal with, and having this Excel Rock is such a silly, for those who don't know, it's just Rock Quick Attack. So it does a lot of damage, especially coming from this Tough Claws. So it's very cool. It's very absurd. It's the signature move of that Pokemon. Next up, we have Davide Carrere with, again, this very boring team, but instead, no King Gambit this time. Instead, we see Incineroar. I feel like this team, I mentioned earlier that it's really easy to swap the sets around. I should have said it's really easy to just swap 1 or 2 Pokemon out, and you just have a good team, right? Again, we see Charizard paired with Garchomp, paired with that Whimsicott, paired with Asclegion instead, and Floette, but instead of King Gambit, we got Incineroar, who also just kind of fits the pacing of what's going on here. He can help set up Tailwinds, he can help set up this Calm Mind. Actually, the Calm Mind is a pretty big difference. Usually you see Light of Faroon, but now you have a potential even just like, hey, I'm going to lead Floette plus Incin, fake out Calm Mind. Turn 2, I'm going to Parting Shot into Whimsicott and Protect, and then bring in Tailwind and just start sweeping with Mega Floette in Tailwind. So another little cool little addition here. And we're also seeing another no Protect Garchomp instead of opting for that Poison Jab, having all the coverage it needs in all these matchups with, again, that Roselli Berry. So we're seeing a lot of the same offenders here. We see that Mystic Water Basculegion is still popping off in Tailwind here. But yeah, I don't think there's nothing too crazy. Next up, we have the former 2013 world champion in Arash Omadi. I believe this is just Sejun's team, Sejun Park's team, that he used to get top 4 at the Korean Nationals. Now we see Arash take Sejun's team and get top 4 at the Turin Regionals. This team is Protect the Queen in its purest form, right? Like, it's all about, we have 1 fake out user to set up either of our queens here, like depending on which one we bring. Again, depends kind of on the matchup. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but then you can fake out, set them up, or you can bring in one of your many follow me users. You have healing, you have Scarf Sleep Powder, or you have Scarf Rage Powder if you need it. We have Follow Me plus Friend Guard. It's just 4 support Pokemon and the 2 Megas that do all the damage. If those Megas go down, the game simply ends. We saw that from Sejun in one of the matches he played, and that's just kind of how this team functions. But the issue is, it's very hard to kill these 2 Pokemon, right? If you've got Earthquake, this one's got Levitate, right? If you got Heat Wave or Spread special moves, we got Calm Mind to get going, right? And then we have Intimidate for those physical spread moves as well. So I think these 2 are just so hard to take down when you dedicate your whole team to supporting them. Then next up, we have Lewis here in the finals with another Delphox plus Floette. One notable thing here is there was a lot of, there's a couple Delphox Floettes. There's 3 of them. But that was something that we didn't see a ton of in NA. Lorsi obviously ran it and did really, really well. Unfortunately, just falling short of making Top Cut. He was 1 win away. And he was tearing up that regional with it as well. And I feel like it's just one of those like really, really strong, potent combos. Again, like they just are, they're kind of like Charizard, but they fill the same role. So it's really easy to just slot them together because you just pick which one you think sets up on their team better, right? Is Delphox better because of its speed and Levitate, or is Floette better because of its sustainability and Calm Mind, right? Because Nasty Plot doesn't give you that defensive boost, but Calm Mind does. So you just kind of pick, and you honestly, like, they're just kind of annoying because they require different answers, right? King Gambit, great in a Delphox. Decent into Floette. Okay, King Gambit was a horrible answer. Let's say Charizard, right? Charizard great into Floette, not great into Delphox, right? Stuff like Poison Jab Garchomp can go crazy on Floette. Can't really go crazy on the Delphox, right? Sneasler, amazing into Floette, horrible in Delphox. You get my point, though. I didn't articulate it great, but you get it. Then we have these 2 fake out users to help either enable one of our queens, and then we have the healing, and then a Sash Basculegion just to kind of like round it out, give us some good damage here in the late game here. No Scarf, but instead having that Sash makes him even harder to KO, especially if he's next to a boosted Delphox or a boosted Floette. Very cool team from Lewis. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that one. But then we have our champion, none other than Marco Fierro. Marco, obviously an amazing and incredible player. And just kind of a crazy team from Marco. We don't see a lot of Gengar Perish. We don't see a lot of Gengar Floette Double Mega. But Marco said, it's time. I feel like Marco's an incredible player, but I think what Marco's team does so well is he has endless options here, right? You have Fake Out plus Perish Song. Absurd. Annoying. You have Fake Out plus Klingorious Soul. You have Fake Out plus Swords Dance King Gambit. And then you have Fake Out plus Nuclear Bomb Floette, right? Like, having to answer a lead that could Perish Song you, could Klingorious Soul you, could Swords Dance you, or it could just lead Floette plus damage seems impossible to deal with. It seems like just like an overwhelming team in the builder. When I'm looking at this, I'm like, what am I leading? Like, how do I stop all these things? And even calling all of them seems incredibly difficult, right? Like, how do you call, like, Swords Dance King Gambit requires completely different answers than Perish Song, which requires completely different answers than Klingorious Soul Como. It's just got so many things. It's just like an overload in the team preview. Nothing too crazy here. I think the techs are really, really nice. Passion Berry Instant, I'm a huge fan of that. I think it's very strong, especially with Perish. I think it's really important into enemy Basque Legions. Because this is like very much like, it's a Perish Song team, but like, not really. Like, if he doesn't want it to be, it doesn't have to be, right? Like, you could bring the first 4, and that's just nothing to do with Perish. The only weird thing is that you have Protect Instant, but like, these 4 Pokemon together are just a really, really good combo that we're seeing on a ton of other teams. But then if you instantly put Gengar over the Floette, you have a hardcore Perish Song mode, right? Like, just having double Fake Out and Protect on everything just allows you to do that. This team it's just overwhelming, but in like a really good way for the player, but a bad way for the opponent. It's one of those teams that, like, you look at it and you say, I think I'm just going to go for this mode this game. It looks pretty solid, looks pretty good. And the opponent's like, holy shit, what if he presses Perish? No, he's not going to Perish me. What if is he going to SD King Gambit me? Is that the option, right? There's just so many options for him to do, and it just allowed him to find that success and win the regional, get himself a little Worlds invite, right? I think he already had one because I think he won a regional this year already with Rabombi. So yeah, Marco Silva, no surprise there, winning the regional, and congrats to him for winning. Now let's take a peek at those Japanese nationals teams. So first, we got to give a massive shout out to Polar Bear, the current world champion, for compiling all these teams, and him and ZGR, amazing stuff, just giving us all these teams on the PokePaste. So we're going to be taking a peek at them. But I got to give a shout out to Gio. I'm going to link that one down below if you want to go check out the World Champions Twitter. So in 8th place here, we have the first team. I'm not even going to try to pronounce these Japanese names, but this is the first team. Again, it's very, very similar to what we were talking about earlier. We have the Charizard, Garchomp, Floette, Whimsicott, Basque Legion, and King Gambit core. The big 6 of the format. They're just so potent together. They put on a ton of pressure. We've talked about it a lot. Having Charizard paired with Floette is really, really obnoxious. Floette can enable Whimsicott. All the Pokemon also just synergize well with Floette as well as they do with Charizard. Garchomp Floette is really deadly and annoying to deal with. Again, we see that no Protect on Garchomp with the Roselli Berry. The interesting pick here is probably this Akka Berry King Gambit, but at the same time, like, I kind of vibe with it. Like, it makes a lot of sense just because living one hit from Charizard can be very, very potent and very, very game changing in that specific matchup. Being able to sucker punch the enemy Basque Legion, because you oftentimes do need to bring your King Gambit versus the Charizard. So just having that option to take one Heat Wave or Weather Ball could be game changing, especially because this was closed team sheets at first. It's so bizarre. It's so stupid. I feel so bad for the Japanese players, but they play closed team sheets and then they play open team sheets in top 8. So yeah, the Akka Berry though in those closed team sheets could be very, very potent, but I think in open team sheets, it could be very good as well. Citrus Berry Basque Legion instead of Mystic Water, which we've seen a lot of. Next up here, we have Tsukude. He is one of my favorite players in the whole game. He's so sick to watch. He performs very, very well at all the international tournaments. Ko is just awesome. So he's running again the same team that we just saw, but with a few little changes here. We see the Black Glasses King Gambit to make those roles more consistent into Basque Legion. Citrus Berry Garchomp with Protect instead of Poison Jab. Tailwind Whimsicott, pretty normal Charizard, modest, nothing too crazy. Did I miss anything crazy here, nature-wise? Nah. We're going to see Modest Floette as well. And then we have Mystic Water Basculation. So this is just like, I would say the spiritual successor to the Glamora team is just the Floette version, which just gives you, again, a ton of control. Team Preview is a nightmare dealing with both Charizard and Floette. So pairing them together, having that King Gambit, he's just so good with them. Garchomp, the synergy's immaculate, and then Basculate is just one of the best Pokemon in the game. So it makes a lot of sense there. So our next top 8 team is a insane Pashuberry Sand T-Tar team. So we've got Tyranitar with Pashuberry, right? His moveset is actually pretty crazy. Usually we see low kick, but instead we see superpower. It's also careful nature, so it's just meant to switch in on those crazy hits. Swords Dance Excadrill paired with Air Slash, Ice Beam, Follow Me, Clefable with the Clefableite as well. This is a solo Mega Clefable team. I think it's just totally baiting Mega Tyranitar. Then we also see Dragapult as like the support mon here with Will-O-Wisp, Light Screen, Draco Meteor, and U-Turn. I think Dragapult is kind of neat, especially in closed team sheet. He's very, very scary. Especially, I mean, like, not that Sneasler's an issue here, but Sneasler is very scared of potentially taking out Psychic Fangs. Then you just drop an insane Draco. Just take out, like, big threats, like Garchomp, just with that Draco Meteor. Then we have the Coil Hypnosis Milotic. And then we have Sinestro with Imprison Trick Room to counter Trick Room teams, but also just to heal everybody else and enable it. This looks like a absolute demon in closed team sheet. Like, truly, truly evil stuff. This one's funny. Mega Clefable, though, making top 8. I don't know how this will translate to open team sheets. I don't know if it does, but I think some of the stuff is really, really cool here. I think that the Milotic is really strong. Mega Clefable, I have no clue. I've never used it in game, and I don't know if I will anytime soon, but I think just having that bulk with the Cine to heal it up seems pretty valuable. Also, Ice Beam, very good move to see here. I think the Sand mode does complement Mega Clefable well. Like, if you were to build Mega Clefable, this might be the one. And then next up for our final top 8 team, we have Charizard, Floette, Whimsicott. Yay, yippee. But this one does opt to run Protect on Garchomp, still with that Roselli Berry. Timid Sash Whimsicott, all the rage, all good. Modest Floette with Helping Hand. That's evil. That's demon work right there. I didn't know it got Helping Hand, but now I know. Helping Hand Floette, standard Charizard, Incineroar with that Fake Out, and then a Mystic Water Basculation once again. So that is the top 8 of Japan Nationals, but let's move on to top 4. Next up here, we have a very interesting Frostlass team. Frostlass, we saw it do pretty well in Europe. It's always like just on the verge of being like really, really great, right? But it is yet to win. It's still just been Charizard plus Floette. I guess we saw Gengar win turn. Gengar did win. But Frostlass is one of those Pokemon that I think is very, very good. It just struggles a bit right now into Charizard, but those Frostlass players, they always try to find a way, whether it's Lycanroc, but in this case, it is none other than Arcanine with Rockhead. Hisui and Arcanine does pair really well with Frostlass. This was something that we saw a lot of, honestly. I think there was a pretty popular Japanese team with Whimsicott that was enabling Frostlass plus Arcanine. This one doesn't have Whimsicott, but it still has that Arcanine. You can just lead it into Charizard, and it's very, very scary, right? Like, you either have to switch out or you have to just protect, set up your weather to stop the Frostlass. Like, you can lead Arcanine, Hisui plus Frostlass. We actually saw Michael Zhang, ESM, also use Frostlass Arcanine. He had Tyranitar and stuff. His team was crazy, but I think this is a really, really cool take on it. Then we also have King Gambit and Sneasler, who are Frostlass' best friends, opting to run Low Kick Sucker Punch to help deal with enemy King Gambits, because enemy King Gambits is one of the most important things you need to deal with because it's so good in a Frostlass. Citrus Berry Sneasler is pretty crazy, but I think in closed team sheet, it kind of makes sense. We also see that Rock Slide. It also is going to proc on Burden pretty consistently because Sneasler is very, very bulky. Rock Slide is a crazy move to have on Sneasler. That's some best of one closed team sheet stuff. Then we also have the Coil Hypnosis Milotic, which pairs really, really well with Aurora Veil, and then Basculation once again with the Scarf. I think gives you that little extra speed ceiling, gives you a little bit more pressure. We also see Supreme Overlord. I'm glad I caught that one. Supreme Overlord King Gambit. So we're letting our Pokemon faint, and then we come in and get those boosts. Kind of a crazy team, but yeah, I think a little best of one cheese here, but it is what it is. Next up, we have Rinya, also known as Rinya Sun. in top 4 here with Whimsicott, Floette, Garchomp, Charizard, King Gambit, and Basculegion. This one I think has no sauce. I think it is just the boring version. The Light of Ruin, Modest, yep, Adamant with the Mystic Water, and then Black Glasses. I think this is the exact same version as Ko. Ko had Citrus Berry, and this one's Roselli Berry. So it's a little bit different, but it's back to that pretty more normal Garchomp. This Garchomp's very interesting. I think it makes sense. Like, that Poison Jab coverage with Roselli Berry is really, really good. It just seems kind of crazy to forego Protect, but it's clearly working. We saw it also be used in Turin as well. Just completely not caring. It's like, hey, I know I can't Protect, but I'd rather have that coverage, which is something we've never seen before in open sheets. It's pretty rare to see someone forgo the coverage, like especially without like Assault Vest or something, but we obviously don't have access to that. But yeah, this team is just so good right now. Yeah, not too much to say here. Iron Head instead of Low Kick. And yeah, then next up here we have our finalist, our second place finisher here with a Rain Dance Frostlass team. Like, this team is absolutely crazy mode. So we have the Perish mode, right? We got Sludge Bomb, Modest, Gengar, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, Perish Song. All you need to make Perish Song work is, of course, Protect and Incineroar, and then having Protect on everything else is really, really valuable as well. But being able to, these two alone can usually get the Perish job done. This guy helps out a ton, and this guy gives you that second Perish. Opting not for Encore, but instead for Hypnosis. I mean, like, to be honest, if you just hit the Hypnosis, like in a Perish Song endgame, like this move isn't the most consistent, but if you just hit the Hypnosis, it might just completely win you games with Perish Song. So I think Encore is obviously more consistent, very solid in open team sheet, but having Hypnosis in a closed team sheet could just cost you the game. So I think that's very, very cool. A cool tech for this specific environment that they're playing in. Archaludon gives you kind of a second mode, like very much like Como, but like this guy's just about dealing damage with those electro shots. And then we have Rain Dance Frostlass, which is just going to completely catch someone off guard, right? Like, just having Frostlass and just saying, hey, I'm going to Rain Dance turn 1. You are getting so many surprise KOs with electro shot. Chople Berry Incense, solid. But yeah, nothing, I mean, like, it is crazy. The whole team is crazy, but nothing too crazy outside of the things we mentioned. I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I mean, absolutely a crazy team. Basculegion looks like a nightmare, but you do have the Archaludon. You do have that Rain Dance on Frostlass. Yeah, I don't know. This team is crazy. Cloverberry, that's a nuts one. And then the finalist team is, of course, the Big Six. The best team in the format right now. The only big difference is I think it's actually just the same team we started with, funnily enough. I guess with slight different variations as well. The Akaberry King Gambit once again, but instead the Mystic Water. We see Stomping Tantrum. We actually don't see Earthquake on Garchomp, which is really crazy. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the norm here. But yeah, these are the Japanese national teams. Congrats to to the guy who won. I believe they go by Kona online. Congrats to them for winning the entire thing. Yeah, what a crazy tournament. The teams weren't super crazy. I mean, this team is clearly very, very well loved. And I feel like the Japanese players, they do run some crazy stuff, but they also are known for running very, very standard and good, consistent teams. So it's no surprise to see this team kind of dominating the current format there. And if you're going to NAIC, this is the team to beat. This team is clearly very, very strong. It destroyed this entire tournament. And it's tons of options, right? Like, you just get to trade better damage with almost anyone. You can run the Floette mode. You get to use just the best Pokemon in the game. And Whimsicott, which at this point, I think Whimsicott could be considered one of the best. I think this team is just saying, hey, let's run double mega, but all the best guys. And that's just what makes it so good. You can run a bunch of creative little tech options, but we see Mystic Water Basculegion very much being the set of choice right now. I thought it was dying down a little bit after the first NA regional, but it's clearly back in full force. This is the set right now. Akaberry King Gambit's really fun, very cool, very solid, clearly into the Charizard matchup. But yeah, I'm very curious to see. And if you want to see the finals from both these regionals, I'll be reacting to them in the next 2 days. So if you want to check those out, I got you covered, dude. I got you covered. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of the teams as usual, and I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Peace.